Good, good. Hi, welcome to Incredible Michaelites. It's webinar 4. It's all about the Michaelites all across the globe doing something exceptional. And so it's St. Michael's 1858. So today's panel, we have got Dr. Sushant Srivastava from 1975 batch. We have got Nikesh Sinha, 1980, and Mr. Pramath Raj Sinha, 1980. So we'll start with the flow of the event would be Mr. Amber Banerjee will take us to the school stories and the school part of it. Then we'll come to the professional achievements, and we'll have a small talk with everyone and see what the achievements they have actually gone through. And then we'll go to a generic session. And then we'll have a teacher, Robin Francis, coming in to bless all of us. So Amber sir, over to you. Let's start and then we'll go ahead.
I think Mr. Robin Francis has already joined.
Yes, he will already be there, sir. Amber sir, you're in mute, sir. Amber sir, you're in mute. Sir, you're in mute. Yeah, fine. Please go on.
Thank you. Thank you, Nishant. So a hearty welcome to the three stalwarts, the young stalwarts, the incredible Michaelites. And I'm sure you'll agree that the Michaelites were incredible, of course, because of their own personal and stupendous achievements and feats. But they were definitely incredible because there was an incredible school also, behind them. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I would just, for all three of you, because, you, all three of you belong to certain batches that followed, well, Father Murphy's demise on the 28th of September, 1972. And then, I'm sure you would all have been influenced a lot by Father Cox, to a large extent, his casual library and, his technique of lending books, all right, to those who were really interested in reading or who would like to improve, as persons, as human beings. That was, I think, his first criterion. And then, of course, some of you would be remembering Brother Burroughs also very fondly because of the scouting, and making you, really being with you. So you would be perhaps more, very fond of Brother Burroughs as well. Now, this is the time when I, all right, had actually cut myself a little off from St. Michael's, not because of St. Michael's, but because of my own complexes. Okay, that's a different story. I again came back. So I should have been visiting St. Michael's, a lot more during this period when you were at the peak, all right, in St. Michael's. But unfortunately, I didn't do so. And I'm sure my classmates, my batchmates, my immediate seniors were doing that. Can you recognize this book?
No, I don't.
Okay, The Wonderful Person Called You by Father Cox. All right, I'll just begin by reading a few lines, okay, from this book. And of course, he gave it to me in 1990, all right, on the 7th of April. And, I was surprised. 1990, I had joined as a teacher in St. Michael's. And he said, this is the date due to which you came into this world, Amber, all right, in his typical accent. And he remembered the marriage day, the marriage anniversary of my parents. I was absolutely zapped, I tell you. So he wrote over there, for Amber, who should find himself in here. And then you can see that handwriting of his, that unmistakable, right-hand side slant cursive, okay, handwriting of Father Cox. So the first chapter, well, deals with something, that all of us have gone through, especially after passing out from school immediately, and that is loneliness. He writes over there, when you come right down to it, it's a lonely old world. Just about everybody feels that way sometime or other. Lots of people feel it very often. Usually, we do not identify it very well. We're not always sure why it's happening. And of course, in a situation like that, we can hardly explain it to others, even to good friends. So we put up with it. And when we put up with it, we do it mostly in an unhappy frame of mind. And then he goes on to write, but some kinds of loneliness are tolerable. They do not paralyze us. And some kinds of people are tough, like Father Cox was. And they soldier on, lonely or not, and keep it to themselves, and we might never know about it. And then he said, yes, I think, Amber, you were soldiering on these years when you did not come and meet us between 1972 and, till the time you joined St. Michael's as a teacher. See, the wonderful thing, about this duo, Father Cox and Father Murphy was, Father Murphy was a first-class organizer, a wonderful administrator, who could really get into the society and get society, following him, appreciating him, admiring him. And Father Cox, was a wonderful compliment. He would reach out to the society, but then as individuals. Okay. And these two, as far as I'm concerned, really exemplified which is more important, society or the individual, or both, or one for the other. And as it was, Father Cox and Father Murphy were almost inseparable till the 28th of September, 1972, when Father Murphy passed away. So I will begin, I think, with the senior most, Dr. Sushant Singh. Dr. Sushant
Srivastava.
Yes, Dr. Sushant. Your memories, please, of St. Michael's, because all of you belong to those batches when the merger, the post-merger effect had settled down. So over to you, Dr. Sushant. So Sushant, over to you, please.
Thank you, sir. We have very pleasant memories of school, and there are so many that I couldn't possibly recount many of them. There's one story that I would like to tell. I don't know whether I should be telling that story here. I think it was 1974, and it was post the spring fair. The spring fair had just happened, and it had been a grand success. So the next day was a holiday, and Brother Burrows in the evening calls us boys to his room, and there, lined up on the table, were leftover prizes. And among those prizes were some beer bottles. Brother Burrows says, guys, you worked very hard and the spring fair has been a grand success. This is time to celebrate. And he pours himself a glass of beer, takes a sip, and says, the men will celebrate with beer, the girls will celebrate with squash. And at 14 years old, I desperately wanted to be a man. I poured beer for myself too, not sure of the moral implications of it, and sipped it. I fought nausea, but continued to be, to the best of my ability, a man. So this is a story I recall from my school days. Many other boys of my class were introduced to beer that day.
Right.
Good one.
Thank you. Thank you, Sushant. Yeah, that was wonderful. In fact, yes, Father Cox and Father Murphy would have been a slightly older school in that sense. But I'm sure 1972 batch people would remember one Father Alan Starr, okay? And Father Alan Starr and and Brother Burrows were, very thick as far as, friendship was concerned. Okay, wonderful. That's a wonderful memory. Yes, now I move on to Pramath. Pramath, could you also just, take us down memory lane and mostly take the youngsters like Nishant down memory lane, okay? And the others who are viewing this, all right, of St. Michael's. Lovely corridors, lovely memory lanes.
Yes, sure. Before that, I want to apologize for the message on the chat group. I was trying to pull the leg of my classmate, Harnam Shankar, who I've not seen for some time. So I was wondering what Harnam is doing here, trying to listen to his old batchmates.
It's all yours. That's all your show.
My first memory, actually, interestingly, as you started to talk about it, Amber, was when we were in Notre Dame Academy, and Nikesh was also there with me because we are the same class. And one day we were told that Father Murphy, and we had all heard of Father Murphy because we all had cousins and so on who had gone to St. Michael's. So we knew this was an iconic figure in Patna, that he had passed away. And we were in grade 3 in 1972. So we were about 8 years old. And we were marched in file, जो हम लोग लाइन में लग के जाते थे. तो Notre Dame Academy से कुर्जी तक, जो कि for a 8-year-old was quite a long distance. मतलब, we were not used to walking like that. So I remember we were all made to walk all the way to St. Michael's and back, and to go pay homage to his body was lying there. So that was a very surreal kind of experience, and we were not sure कि हम लोग ये कर क्यों रहे हैं, हमसे करवाया क्यों जा रहा है, why are they making us do this? But that has left a very deep impression on my mind, because it was such an unusual event, that something big has happened, some very important person has died, and that we have to march up and down from. And I don't think our parents knew that all this was going on. I think if they had known, they would have probably told the sisters that, sorry, you can't make these kids walk on a main road. Nobody thought at that time that, you're walking on a main thoroughfare all the way. I would say that for a lot of us, actually the big guy was Harlan, because he really affected our lives in ways that I often look back, because now I'm so involved in education, and I often wonder, how old was this guy? And how did he demonstrate those leadership capabilities? We now call it leadership, and after all, he was the head of an institution. How was he able to manage? See, I think he was at a relatively young age when he was doing this. Cox, I think I got exposed to a little later in my career. But yes, amazing man and an incredible man. He was another level. And I don't think, much as I admire Harlan for the direct impact he had on me and my life and our time there, I think Father Cox was built of a very different stock. And I think Murphy and those guys must have been of that stock. Even Harlan, not to put him down in any way, was not of that stock, which these guys who came early to India and set up the institutions. So yeah, those are some of my memories from the time at St. Michael's. And, there used to be this feeling of a strange fear and mystery and awkwardness as you went up the stairs to the auditorium and you approached this door that led into the corridors of the residences of these fathers. And it was a huge privilege to be able to sort of cross that threshold and enter that corridor. And I don't recall ki first room kiska tha. Maybe the first room principal ka tha, but Cox was the second room.
The second one, yes. And he never changed that room, Pramath. He never changed it.
First was Brother Burroughs.
Okay, yes, first was Burroughs. By our time, Burroughs at some point left. But when we would go, there was a smell in Cox's room. There was of old books, I still remember that smell. Sometimes when you enter a room, it has a particular there's a flavor to that smell, which I have not forgotten. It used to feel like a well-used library and so on. It was a small room. So that's the other memory I have.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Pramath. Thank you. In fact, you spoke about Father Harlan, and before we actually were on air, you asked me about whether I have done some teacher training workshops and so on. When I had joined as a teacher in St. Michael's, Father Harlan was not there. Okay, Father Tom Karthanam and Father P.T. Augustine. Father P.T. Augustine went on to become one of my greatest mentors. I regard him as my second mentor after my mom, okay, to a large extent, yes. Of course, that's a different story. But then Father Harlan just had a little, chat with me. And then he came to the staff room and he just said, I want you to get into teacher training, my son. And it was just, that's it. And you see, and then Father Harland actually initiated me. And in fact, he almost, I would say, held me by the finger and led me into actual teacher training and changed my personality to a large extent. So there you are. All right. So a great admirer of Father Harland, and Pramath also asked me the same question, the first question, without my CV. All right, great. So that's why Michaelites, are incredible, because of those incredible, teachers and fathers. Okay, now I come to Nikesh. All right. So Nikesh, welcome to this wonderful Michaelite zone. Okay, and you are another incredible Michaelite. Would you also like, to take us down memory lane? And as Pramath said, because when I became a teacher, even then, I was very afraid. Somebody said, "Okay, go meet Father Cox. He wants to meet you." I said, "That corridor, okay, all right." He said, "Yeah, you have to. I mean, yeah, you can very easily." And then, Father Cox, had a long chat with me, and before he actually said, okay, to my being a teacher of Standard 12, the question he asked me, "Hey, do you know boxing?" All right, I said, "Well, I'll have to box, but okay, I know one thing. If I have to box my students, I'll make them bring the chair, all right, in front of them, because they are all Hulk Hogan's, much taller than me. And I will get up on the chair, brought by the student, and then box." He said, "Okay." He had a hearty laugh. I said, "Father, we won't have a need for that." And then I was in St. Michael's as a teacher. Okay, Nikesh, please take us down memory lane, please. And I'm sure you have lots and lots to talk about, Brother Burrows.
Yeah. Hi everyone who's here on this webinar. See, the problem that exists is that Pramath Raj Sinha has sort of stolen all my memories. See, we have these shared memories, and the first thing I was going to talk about was this walk from Notre Dame to St. Michael's that he's already spoken about. The second thing I was going to speak about was this walk from the edge of the corridor towards James W. Cox, Father S.J. room, and then hesitating before you enter the room. He's already spoken about it. So this gentleman who preceded me has basically stolen my memories.
I bribed her to ask me to go first.
Good.
So it's just we were together in school, so I mean we constantly have these what should I say, arguments about who said what, etc. But in seriousness, I think that there were two very significant influences. Father Cox personally, purely because I was in the 5th standard, where I took all the courage that I had in my hand and approached him. And I was one of the shortest in my class. So I remember looking up to a rather tall man wearing this cassock or a robe and saying, "Can I borrow books from your library?" And he looked at me and he said, "You're too young, come back next year." And I went back in the 6th standard and he said, "Yes, but there are 3 or 4 questions I would like to ask you." And I don't remember the 3 or 4 questions that he asked me, but essentially, he basically, I remember the one question: "Are you going to return my books to me or not?" And I was much too frightened to say anything except, "Yes, indeed, I will." And it was, for me, one of the longest memories that I have of my life in St. Michael's is this constant walk up to Father Cox's room, picking up books, and then after a couple of years, actually discussing those books with him, which was quite an important thing, which we didn't realize at that point in time, because he would point you to specific books that you normally would not pick up, because all of us were reading in the 6th and the 7th Alistair MacLean, and so you'd graduated out of Hardy Boys, and then we just moved to Alistair MacLean, and that was something that everybody read, and then people also, of course, read Biggles and all of that. But he would just gently point you to a book which would be perhaps an abridged version of a, Charles Dickens or a Jane Austen. And just slowly over the years, and I realized that he was just quote unquote building character. You just became very familiar with those. My other memory, of course, is Brother Burrows. I was in Scouts, so obviously Brother Burrows, and he used to run scouting. But he also had this rather horrible habit of, he used to move almost like a cat. So he was one of those guys who used to move without any noise. So he would come, put his foot up next to the window on the ground floor, and he would be listening into the class. And we were oblivious of the fact that this gentleman was standing there. And then 2 or 3 of the noisiest were called out. And then, of course, 2 and 3 of the juiciest were given. So that was the other memory of Brother Burrows, which, of course,
right. Thank you, Nikesh. I'm sure now Nishant is waiting very, very eagerly and very impatiently and wants me to be out of the way. So I will be Nishant. Now, Nishant, my senior, I'll say my senior because he's going to talk about the more serious stuff, all right, your career and how it panned out, basically. Okay. So the complete you will be covered by Nishant. Over to you, Nishant.
Thank you, Amber, sir. You have always been wonderful with the school part of it, because you know more about skill than anyone else have seen this.
Thank you.
With all the stalwarts we have today, we'll start with Dr. Sushant Srivastava. Sushant Bhaiya, I'll have to tell everyone about you first. So Sushant Bhaiya is the director of cardiac surgery, BL Kapoor Hospital. He has done his MCH CTVS from AIMS and joined as faculty at AIMS itself. He has performed over 3,000 cardiac procedures as AIMS, and now he has an experience of a total of 9,000 cardiac surgeries, which is not small, which is amazing. He has assisted in the first 10 heart transplant, and moreover, he was there in the first heart transplant which happened in the country. He has also has a couple of more firsts in his whole line, and it was recorded that the oldest patient of the country at the age of 96 underwent an open heart surgery, which was performed by Dr. Sushant. Moreover, the first stitchless valve replacement was done by Dr. Sushant as well. So we are extremely proud by this first, incredible MICHAELITE we have. So Sushant Bhaiya, we would like to understand your journey, point one, and then let us know about the first heart transplant, because you also supposed to tell one story about how did you happen to become a cardiac surgeon.
Thank you, Nishant, for a very kind introduction. I'll begin with the first heart transplant. For many years before, for a couple of years before 1994, All India Institute was technically capable of performing a heart transplant. So we had heart failure patients whose life is threatened. A heart failure patient who's a candidate for a heart transplant is defined as someone whose life expectancy is less than 1 year. So we had a list of these patients. It's called a recipient list. But the legislation to do heart transplants had not yet been passed by Parliament. So we were completely prepared. On the night of the 2nd of August, 1994, there happened to be a brain dead patient in the same building at All India Institute in which our recipients were lodged. And the family of this patient agreed to donate the heart. And by that time, the legislation was also coming through. It had already been passed by Lok Sabha. It had probably not become a law, but there was information that we could go ahead with the heart transplant. So on that fateful night, we had a recipient, we had a matched donor who was about the same size, the same blood group, and we had the technical capability. The team was led by Dr. Venugopal, who's been a pioneering force in cardiac surgery in India and at the All India Institute. And I remember that night, the operation went through the night, and we wheeled out the patient at about 6 in the morning into the ICU. And that was a historic moment. And I was very lucky to be on the team and be there at that historic moment.
And how did your journey of cardiac surgeon actually came up?
Well, there's another story to tell about it. When I was a little boy, my mother read out to me a story from the Reader's Digest. This was about the famous American heart surgeon, Denton Arthur Cooley. Denton Arthur Cooley was a pioneering surgeon. As I listened awestruck, how he stopped the heart on the heart-lung machine, went inside the heart, closed holes, repaired defects, then stitched the heart up, and then separated it from the machine and started beating again. Sounded like fairy tales at that time. My mother finished with a wistful, "Tum bhi kuch aisa hi karte." And that wish stuck on. Of course, later on, I found that cardiac surgery was challenging and, required a high degree of skill, and all those things played their part. But I'm quite sure that the story that I heard from my mother on that fateful day also has played its part in my choosing cardiac surgery. I'll tell you why. I was better in physics and maths. I remember I had honors in physics and maths in class 8 and 9. But I chose biology over maths. And then I chose medicine. And when the time to specialize came, I chose cardiac surgery.
Fantastic. But yeah, at some time back, we got a lot of news all across about that 96-year-old patient who went for a bypass surgery, and which was a path-breaking step in the medical science. So can you just throw some light on that as well?
That was an accident too. This 96-year-old gentleman was admitted to hospital with blood in his sputum. And on investigation, it was found that he had had a heart attack. So he was taken into ICU and treated for the heart attack. At 96, nobody imagined that he would have surgery. So he was stabilized and shifted from the ICU to the ward with the intent of discharging him home on medication to live whatever years that remained of his life peacefully at home. But in the ward, he developed heart failure and he had to come back to the ICU. And this happened twice. Twice we stabilized him and sent him to the ward with the intention of discharging, but we could not. Then we undertook an angiogram, and in the angiogram, we found 3 blockages, triple vessel disease. And since those blockages were preventing him from being discharged home, the question of surgery came up. We discussed it with the family. The family was understandably at first reluctant, but later they agreed. So with the risk explained at 96 with a weak heart, we did the surgery. And though the convalescence was long, he survived. And when he survived, it became a record. So it was an extremely gratifying experience. And he leaves, when he walked into my OPD for follow-up after surgery, it was a very gratifying moment.
Fantastic, we are super proud of you. Great story. I'll move to Pramath Bhaiya. Pramath Raj Sinha, as everyone knows, he's one of the legends in the education industry, an IIT alumni. He's a pioneer force in the Indian education. He was the founding dean of Indian School of Business, which is huge. He's also the founder of trustee of Ashoka University, a world-class liberal art university. So, Pramath Bhaiya, I'll straight away come to you on the ground. Can you just take the story of the ISB, because that's one everywhere we can find ISB and you together as the founder of the institution.
Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult for me to start. Maybe I should start by saying that I actually don't have an MBA, and so. In fact, when this opportunity came up, I was asked by the head of. I was working at McKinsey, and the head of McKinsey globally was an Indian who had gone to IIT Delhi, Rajat Gupta.
Yeah.
Rajat approached me to help with this project, and I tried to get out of it because I thought, yeah, this is my boss's boss's boss, and he's asking me for some work, so I have to find a way. He's giving me some grunt work to do, and why should I do this chaprasi wala kaam? Uska project hai, main kya karunga? So I was like, see, Rajat, I'm very, it's awkward, but, I'm busy and, but I don't know anything about business education. I've not done an MBA. You see, I had been an academic. I had done a PhD in engineering, but it was a set of circumstances because of which I was working in business and management consulting. I hadn't done an MBA. So, such people are also very wise and smart, and they know how to get their work out. So he said, but that's an advantage. I would like somebody to work on this who has not done an MBA, because then you'll have ideas that are not ghisa pita, but, something unique.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, sometimes the opportunity is staring you in the face, but you are saying, no, I don't want this. I don't want to do this. And then it completely changes your life.
Yeah.
Of course, when I got involved in it, at that time, we worked on it for almost 6 years. It was actually supposed to be an institution within IIT Delhi. And it was supposed to be IIT Delhi's School of Management. But then as we developed the idea further, it appeared that it was going to be very difficult to do what we wanted to do and the quality we wanted to create in the context of the regulations and the policies of IIT Delhi. You see, the key thing that is to note about ISB and Ashoka and all these institutions, which we as Indians don't realize because our impression of educational systems is so poor, is that we have the capability to build the very best of educational institutions, which are best from day one. That is a very interesting ability or evidence that you can do that. Most people think कि आज बनाओ तो 10 साल बाद 20 साल बाद वो world class हो जाएगा या 50 साल बाद. But the opportunity is to actually create something that can be world class from day one.
Interesting. Right? Yes.
And but the everything that we do conspires to stop you from doing that. And in fact, we allow institutions to decay. अब St. Michael's Patna को ही आप देख लीजिए तो it is not just out of nostalgia, but the fact is that the standard has gone down over the years.
Yes.
So I think that was the beauty of being able to build ISB. There's lots of innovation that went into ISB, and a lot of new institutions that have been started after that have used some of those ideas. The biggest idea was to actually bring in visiting faculty to teach courses. ये इस scale पे world में कहीं नहीं किया गया था, because people think कि आप बिना faculty के institution कैसे बना सकते हो? और the headlines जब शुरू में आते थे, they used to say कि ये fly by night business school है.
जी.
कि वो fly in fly out faculty है, ये कैसे चलाएंगे? और आज 20 साल बाद आज भी 200 faculty all over the world से आते हैं, temporarily पढ़ा के चले जाते हैं, और उसके basis पे हमारे permanent भी हैं, लेकिन ज़्यादा visiting है. That became the strength of our model. So anyway, the only thing I will say is that in year 6 of the school, we started in 2001. In 2007, we got ranked as the number 20th ranked program in the world.
Oh, superb.
Which was the youngest ever institution to reach that level so quickly. We, I think, surprised ourselves also, honestly. We didn't expect that we would be able to get there. So yeah, that was a very interesting journey. I was not supposed to be the dean. Actually, जो हमारे 2 dean बनने वाले थे, वो रात last minute पे मुकर गए. एक इंडिया के पॉलिटिक्स से बहुत घबरा गए, और दूसरे को कोई एक नया पोजीशन मिल गया, जो कि केलॉग, जो कि अमेरिका का टॉप बी स्कूल था उस समय, उसके डीन बन. तो we had the class admitted, we had everything ready to start, and there was no dean. And since I had been involved in building the university institution, and I also had a PhD from many years ago, the board said कि यार तुम ही बन जाओ. तो everybody again, life kaise hota hai, everybody still gives me a lot of credit for founding dean, jo ki theek hai, I should get credit because I was involved in building it. But wo founding dean ka role mera 12th man tha. I was not supposed to, night watchman ban ke aaya tha basically.
Superb, yeah. Very modest, bhaiya. Ajay bhaiya, from the engineering and management side of your career, how did you plan to establish a liberal art university?
You see, इंडिया में हम लोग बहुत ही जल्दी लोगों को स्पेशलाइज करा देते हैं. जैसे डॉक्टर श्रीवास्तव कह रहे थे, actually when you are in school, we are okay in all subjects. Physics भी कर लो, math भी कर लो, biology भी कर लो. मैं तो हमेशा confused था. I did biology and math, Dr. Srivastava, and I didn't get into any. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to be a doctor or an engineer. I got the highest marks in biology, but never qualified in any medical. And I did really badly in physics, but got into the joint entrance test for IIT. So, at that time, when you are 18 years old in Patna, my father and grandfather were all Hindi writers. उनको कोई idea नहीं क्या बच्चे को करना है. कुछ अपनी देख वेख के friend से पता करके हम लोग करते थे. हमारे यहाँ प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि एक बार कॉलेज में घुस जाओ तो वही पढ़ो. अब मैंने 4 साल IIT कानपुर में मेटलर्जिकल इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ा है और कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था उसमें, कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. तो सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम हमारी यूनिवर्सिटीज में कि आप एक डिपार्टमेंट में घुसते हो. हिंदू कॉलेज में इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ने गए तो इकोनॉमिक्स ही पढ़ो, और स्टीफेंस में इकोनॉमिक्स का क्लास नहीं ले सकते और इकोनॉमिक्स से हिस्ट्री में नहीं जा सकते. ये कहीं भी प्रथा नहीं है. दिस इज नॉट ट्रू फॉर एनी यूनिवर्सिटी. यू आर गुड इनफ टू गेट इनटू दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी और IIT और यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ पेंसिल्वेनिया वेयर आई वेंट, and then you do what you want. तो ये बहुत मुझे इन्फ्लुएंस किया. जब मैं यहाँ से पढ़ के US गया, then I suddenly realized कि कॉलेज में तो you are supposed to have total freedom to choose what you want. You are supposed to discover yourself. You are supposed to discover your passions and find your voice, and ये सब expressions use करते हैं कॉलेज के लिए. और यहाँ पे हमारा कॉलेज है कि रैंक में टेस्ट में इतना आया तो इसके बेसिस पे आप मेटलर्जी पढ़ोगे, इतना मार्क्स आया तो आपका स्टीफेंस में होगा, नहीं तो किरोड़ीवाल में होगा. सो दैट इज व्हाट रियली हैड बीन इन माय माइंड कि हाउ डू वी ब्रेक दिस नेक्सस. एंड द अदर थिंग इज कि आई पर्सनली थिंक कि हमारे देश में सबको हिस्ट्री पढ़नी चाहिए. क्यों? क्योंकि हिस्ट्री है ना. अगर हम हिस्ट्री नहीं पढ़ेंगे तो कहाँ हिस्ट्री पढ़ेंगे 200 साल पुराने देश में, और हम ही अपने को हिस्ट्री नहीं पढ़ाते हैं. हमारी स्ट्रेंथ है ये लिटरेचर, हिस्ट्री. आई मीन इतनी ज्यादा हमारे यहाँ रिचनेस है इसकी, लेकिन यही सब चीजें हम नहीं पढ़ाते. वी हैव स्टार्टेड फॉलोइंग दिस, ऑलमोस्ट वोकेशनल बना दिया है हमने कॉलेजेस को. तो मेडिकल इंजीनियरिंग ऑब्वियसली जरूरी है, बट ये सब चीज जरूरी है. एंड सो आई थिंक दैट इज व्हाट रियली इन्फ्लुएंस्ड मी, एंड दैट इज व्हाई अशोका हैपेंड. You're on mute.
Yeah. Great thought, Bhaiya. Superb. So I'll come to Nikesh Bhaiya again. So Nikesh Sinha, an IIT Madras, IIM Ahmedabad, an entrepreneur who has got a lot on his platter. To start with, he started 4 newspapers, 2 in English, 1 in French, 1 in Nepali. Then he is into a solar energy sector with a total asset of 200 million plus USD. And created solar assets in Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, currently working in Vietnam, Mauritius, and Kenya. It's unending. Super, bhaiya. It's a great honor to have you here and your achievements. But my first question is, you started a company which was into programming in channels. How did you think of moving into print? Because normally it happens the other way around.
Yeah, thanks. I think there is one word that defines my life, and that word is serendipity. Sri Lanka is known as the Serendip Islands. So I think I should actually be a citizen of Sri Lanka because my life is serendipity, and it's nothing else. And it's very surprising. Again, I'm shocked that Mr. Pramath Raj Sinha has come before me and stolen my words from me. Because like him, I had the highest marks in biology and never did biology. Like him, my marks in physics were amongst the lowest, and I got through to IIT. So there is a very dangerous precedent here. I think we have to check whether हम लोग कुंभ मेले में कहीं पर बिछड़े तो नहीं थे. But no, so you see, what I would say is that, you know, my generation, and I think if you leave Dr. Srivastava, because he's about 5 years senior to us, but I wouldn't say leave him, because, you know, we all basically had this doctor banega ya engineer banega wala logic. But if you look at my generation, people who graduated in 89 in India, and so Pramath had, of course, by then already gone abroad and there was living abroad. I was the, what I call the Manmohan Singh generation. So I was the first recipient of liberalization in India. So when I started, you know, along with Dilip Padgaonkar and Arvind Narayan Das and Bacha Sen, a company in Delhi, which was a media company, we were basically riding the first wave of liberalization in India. And so by the year about 2000, we had made some money. And I will say this to you, that capital is never adequate. You never have adequate capital to do what you want. However, it depends on what you really want to do. We could have actually at that point in time taken the money and gone home. Each one of us would have got a largish house and be done with it. Because we had some money at that point which we could invest. And as, like I said, serendipity would have it, Bacha, who was Bacha Sen, said to me, why don't you go to Kathmandu and have a look at the newspapers there. Now, remember that we are all from the Times of India. Dilip Padgaonkar was the editor of Times of India. And I was a really tiny little officer in Patna in the Times of India, you know, when I started off. So this is the year about 2000. We've got our own company and we have some money. And so I went to Kathmandu for the first time on the 5th of March, 2001. I looked at the newspapers and I said, we can do a better newspaper than this any day. With my eyes closed, I can do a better newspaper. And that is how we invested in Nepal. And now remember that the king was alive. There was very little democracy. And also remember that the sets of rules and regulations around media were not very dramatic. So we invested. I ordered the press. The press was on its way from India to Nepal. And then the king got assassinated. And then we did not know what was going to happen. We just did not know what was going to happen. And then this new government came in. And this government said, no, we can't have newspapers and so on and so forth. So it, like I said, serendipity played its part. And, you know, then there's a long story as to how we started our paper. But when we started the paper became a huge success. And when I say huge, I mean, the first copy of the newspaper was sold for as much as 200 rupees per, while the newspaper was priced at 2 rupees, it was sold for 200 rupees. It became a success in the sense that in less than a month, we were selling more than the second, third, and fourth newspaper in Nepal. Put together, the second, the third, and the fourth newspaper, if you put them together, we were selling more than them. So it just became a huge success. And that is where we should have just kept quiet, made our money, and gone home. But we decided to be more foolish, more stupid, and started a second newspaper, which was a middling success. Now, at least at that point, somebody should have told us, yaar, ab paise ban rahe, ghar jao. We started a third newspaper, which was not really a middling success. It was just about breaking even. So we started a fourth newspaper. It started losing money. So serendipity, that's how I would describe my life.
Nice, Bhaiya. Very good, Bhaiya. Bhaiya, we would also like to understand from newspaper, from media, your next vertical is the solar energy sector. So can you just throw some light on that?
Yeah, so, one of the critical learnings that happened, so, we have 2 newspapers in Nepal now and 2 in Mauritius, one in French, one in English. The Mauritius newspapers obviously are no longer there. I sold them and then I shut them because they didn't make any money. The Nepal newspapers run and still the biggest newspapers of Nepal. If any of you go to Nepal, the Himalayan Times is still the largest English newspaper of Nepal. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, but what happened was that you realize that a newspaper business, and Pramath would know, he was managing director of Anand Bazar Patrika, which has not been mentioned till now. He used to run one of the largest Eastern India media empire, so to speak, for Avik Sarkar. The business of newspapers is not steady revenues. Revenues go up and down depending on advertising, and you lose a lot of money on circulation. So the idea was that we should get into stable revenue systems, which could then help us run our newspapers so that we could run our newspapers even in bad times and not be affected by the cash flows. So that's how I started the business, the second vertical, which is the renewable energy vertical. And very soon realized that money was not available in India so much as it was abroad. And so went out of India and set up a company based out of Singapore, and then developed and created these assets outside India.
Superb, yeah. Great story. Actually, Amber sir, today we are sitting with all the stalwarts. So just as an alumni also, we came to know that Pramath Bhaiya also received the most distinguished alumnus award from the IIT Kanpur, which is great. Congratulations, Bhaiya. Yeah, great stuff.
Thank you. It's a award.
Exactly, yeah. So the good part about St. Michael's, what we have seen over a period of time is, even if it's 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and even 50 years, people still meet their classmates. The alumni are still intact at somewhere or other. So this platform of Incredible Michaelites is just to aware people about people who have done good in their life, and just to get everyone on a platform. Now I'll go to everyone one by one, and we'll take a small viewpoint and your views or your suggestion to the Alumni Association, all the alumni of the St. Michael's. So I'll go to Sushant Bhaiya first. Yes, Amber sir, please come in.
Just one sec. I mean, what an object lesson that has been, taught to all of us. I mean, even me,
yes,
right, who is not much of an achiever in that sense, but of course we are all achievers, in many senses. Humility is perhaps, the essence and the key, as exemplified by all these 3 Michaelites this evening, and has been, even earlier. I mean, that is something, which is, calling something, giving it to time, giving it to destiny, giving the due credit to serendipity, giving it to, and I mean, absolutely. I mean,
full modesty.
Wonderful. Huge modesty and humility. Absolutely. All of them.
Big clap for them, actually. Yeah,
please.
Very honestly, I wish that there was something to be truly proud of. I mean, it's like,
but
I don't know.
Amber sir, the thing that I would add to what you're saying is that one of the things that I do not feel humble about and feel very proud of is the school itself.
Absolutely.
And there is, because I'm involved in education, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. There was something special about the school.
You
meet so many people in your life, right? How many of them remember and care so much about their school days and what they, So for all of us, I think we were very fortunate and very, very lucky. And all the research in education shows that future success and achievements and whatever values you develop has a lot to do with the early years.
Very true.
Your future is decided in the formative years, which is foundational learning. I think we were very lucky to get foundational learning in that time and that place, which has really helped all of us. The range of things that our alumni are doing is just incredible out of one school.
Very true. Absolutely. I mean, in fact, Pramath, I would just like to share this with you that when I went to Father Cox's room first and to borrow a book, he just said that, okay, you are very interested in cricket. And I know that Tiger Pataudi is your very favorite, all-time hero. And the first book that Father Cox gave me to read was Tiger's Tale. All right. And in Tiger's Tale, the two methods of leadership or captaincy that the young 25, 26-year-old Pataudi talked about, all right, one being a captain like Gary Sobers, and the other, being a captain like he himself. And that's the study in management. That's the study, I would say, in leadership. I mean, you are a leader who actually is with the team, The team does not feel that, okay, you are a leader in that way. You lead by example, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Very true. I mean, Pramath, you just brought out a wonderful point. Absolutely. We are all whatever we are, due to St. Michael's to a large extent, I would say to 99%. Absolutely true.
Great, sir. Big applause, sir. So I'll go to Sushant Bhaiya. Sushant Bhaiya, your one line to the alumni all across.
I think this is a fantastic effort. You bringing so many people together. My only suggestion would be, can we index this in a way so that we can access an individual? We can learn about people from different years. There are so many of them, and access an individual if we need to.
Yeah, fantastic, superb. Nikesh Bhaiya?
I think it's important for us to do two things. I mean, purely in terms of connect. And Pramath would, this time, because I'm ahead of you, you will sort of agree with me this time, is that, for example, people who graduate from Harvard or from Wharton or any of those, haven't, look at something very basic. Have an email ID, it says @harvard.edu. Can we set up something which gives us @stmichaelspatna.edu? So Nikesh.Sinha 1980, @stmichaelspatna.edu. That gives you a sense of identity. I don't mean it just purely, as a, hamare paas bhi hona chahiye, nahi. It gives you a sense of identity.
Very true.
And the second,
great idea.
And the second thing is that whenever we do these chapter meets, MOBA here, MOBA there, etc. I think what we also need to do is let all chapters work towards a common cause. So this year we will work on, with Pramath, for example, or with Dr. Srivastava, for example, on making sure that education about, let's say, cardiac issues is taken up and followed up in a rigorous manner, where there is a certain amount of path that we will take from point A to point B, finish it over 1 year. So we don't focus ourselves on multiple things, focus ourselves on just one thing. Or Pramath takes an education system, takes education in St. Michael's Patna and takes it through from January to December through a path where you can see progress. And maybe for 2 years, it's okay. No? That's how we make a change in society. We have enough intellectual firepower. What we need to do is just channelize it properly. Sorry, that was too long.
Great thought, Bhaiya. Superb thought, actually. Superb thought. Thank you. Pramath Bhaiya?
Nikesh has stolen my thunder. So I will only say that somebody told me this many years ago, and I've not forgotten it. And when I follow it, I always think of St. Michael's, I think of Patna, and I think of my growing up years. And it was a very simple statement that they told me to remember, which is that leadership is about never forgetting where you've come from. लीडरशिप पे बहुत कुछ ज्ञान लोग देते हैं कि लीडर ऐसा होता है, लीडर वैसा होता है, लेकिन ये एक्सप्लेनेशन मैंने पहली बार सुना था और वो मेरे साथ has stayed with me because उसमें काफी कुछ है. ये जो ह्यूमिलिटी की बात हो रही है, that is where it comes from, because at the end of the day we are still those guys in half pants and St. Michael's buckle and वो टाई लगा के जो हम लोग बस्ता लेके सुबह सुबह स्कूल जाते थे, वो फादर लोग के साथ जो we are still in that world somewhere. कुछ भी अचीव करो तुम वही हो. So I think it's a very good reminder to all of us कि don't ever forget कि वहां से सब कुछ शुरू हुआ था. And that we owe a lot to this country. I mean, वो पादरी as Society of Jesus का भले स्कूल था, but वो इस देश में था. And I think we all are very lucky to have been given that kind and quality of education that most places in the world you would not get. Let me say that.
Yes.
I'm not trying to say this out of jingoism. I'm literally saying कि वो जो अब जब मैं देखता हूँ कि वो quality education पटना में with teachers like Mr. Robin Francis जो हम लोग को मिल गया, वो एक बड़ी responsibility है और एक वापस देने का कुछ बनता है. तो ज्यादा तो मैं पटना के लिए और बिहारियों के लिए नहीं कर सकता और उसमें भी I don't want to be jingoistic, but at least एक कुछ, if you don't forget where you came from, then I think your life will make a difference of some sort. And I think that's the lesson I remember from St. Michael's.
Brilliant, sir. Totally agree to. Let us welcome Robin Francis, sir. Sir, pranam.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening, sir. Welcome once again.
I can see now the giants. The seed has grown into a giant. And specialized people. Yes. Now you have your photo here.
Sir,
Oh, that is my. That is true.
That is our yearbook.
yeah. He is so meticulous to get this book ready with the photographs. Amazing, sir. You are something great, Bhaiya. Amazing.
That's our yearbook. Yes.
Because I love you people.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. You taught us, sir.
So, Sushant, I'm very happy to see that you have become a great carolist. I'm suffering for heart. One is 10 is inside.
Sir,
One is 10 is inside.
Sir, be careful. Don't suffer from your heart, huh? Be very careful.
I'm 84 years old. 84 years old.
आप दिखते नहीं है बिल्कुल.
84.
Still, some boys come to learn physics. Still, I remember physics. I teach physics without any book and chemistry. I don't use any book. Still.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm very lucky to have you people like this. मैं तो बहुत अपने को भाग्यशाली समझता हूँ.
सर, पिछली बार हम लोगों ने मिस्टर के.एन. मिश्रा को भी बुला लिया था 1-2 मिनट के लिए.
हाँ, सर also came last time.
अच्छा लगा था सबको. हालांकि वो थोड़े से ज्यादा ही बुजुर्ग हो गए हैं. लेकिन still he is very active और सबको पहचाना उन्होंने.
वो तो है. अभी देखो मैं हमारा एक्सपेरिमेंट दिखाए तो तुम लोगों को पता याद है कि नहीं.
ये अशोक प्रसाद है. ये अशोक प्रसाद है. अशोक पीडी. हाँ, ये मेरे बैच वाला है. ये
कैथोड रे एक्सपेरिमेंट.
Right, cathode ray.
Yes.
अशोक प्रसाद.
तो now
बाकी 2 आदमी 1980 के हैं, निकेश भैया और प्रमथ भैया.
So I was looking for their photographs. I could not get it. I came to know recently. I was looking for it. Okay.
But you taught us in this 7th standard, 8th standard, 9th standard, and 10th standard.
10th standard.
Yes, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
4 years.
I remember very clearly. that you
be-
taught
And
us
also,
poem.
I used to
Ah.
go down to teach drawing also
Okay.
to small children.
अच्छा ये
अच्छा।
हमें मालूम था लेकिन
ये
physics
नहीं मालूम।
से पढ़े जो भी फिजिक्स
And I
पढ़े
was the first
Sir.
batch started +2
हाँ।
in Notre Dame, combined
हाँ,
Correct.
combined Notre Dame.
Correct.
Then
Correct.
Prashant Trivedi was there.
I love you so
Prashant
much.
Trivedi.
तो वो
प्रशांत
Now he's
was
an IAS officer.
married
हाँ
the
आजकल है।
Married, the classmate.
classmate
हाँ गीताली
I
से
know,
शादी
I know
किया।
that. I knew
गीताली
that
से
this is
शादी।
going to. I knew that this accident is going to take place.
But Prashant was always an accident waiting to happen. So
Now,
Nishant,
Yeah.
do you remember yesterday? One
Yes.
of the incredible Michaelites said,
Sushant,
Mr. Kennedy,
where are you
to
now?
the-
In Delhi.
to the lab.
Where?
और यही
दिल्ली।
काम मिस्टर रॉबिन फ्रांसिस ने किया है और ये फोटो वो एग्जाम्प्लीफाई करता है इन दैट पर्टिकुलर लैब एंड
अरे वाह।
us actually try and understand a particular concept than just know a particular principle.
Superb.
yeah, well, I mean, both at least
I-
Pramath and I can formally thank him for us getting into IIT.
अरे
so
great sir. Superb.
we can formally thank you, sir.
जो भी
That both Pramath and I got into IIT. You taught us physics.
आई थिंक डॉक्टर श्रीवास्तव से वो पूछ रहे थे आप बीएल कपूर है वहां पे है बताइए सर
सर
डॉक्टर को हाँ
सर
ये आजकल कहाँ हैं आप?
दिल्ली में
दिल्ली में कहाँ?
बीएल कपूर हॉस्पिटल है।
ओ हम तो जाते थे, कभी भेंट किए थे वो कोहली से, विजय कोहली
जी
वेदांता में है।
हाँ जी
वो कैलियस खाते हैं, कैलियस बेनिफिशियल लिवास खाते हैं।
आपको हम नंबर भेज देंगे सर का।
अच्छा
सुशांत भैया का नंबर भेज देंगे आपको सर।
हाँ
सर का नंबर
आपको
निशांत।
मतलब पूरा स्कूल हम पिछली बार मीट में भी बोल रहे थे कि सर आज भी कादर खान को फेल कर सकते हैं।
I love to meet you people. बहुत हमको अच्छा लगता है। I'm very very happy to see people. Sometimes I have to sing a song to teach them physics, to bring the mood. Yes. हम तो गाते थे कभी, अभी हमें गाना सुनाते हैं तुम लोगों को। आज हमसे दूर होकर ऐसा रोया मेरा प्यार, चांद रोया साथ मेरे, रात रोई बार बार, चांद रोया साथ मेरे, रात रोई बार बार।
वेरी नाइस
Wow.
Sir was always very fond of Mukesh.
Yes.
सर आपका
जिन्हें हम भूलना चाहें अक्सर याद आते हैं।
अरे वाह। आप प्रमोद भैया कुछ बोल रहे थे प्लीज।
हाँ
बोल रहे थे कि सर का
बोल रहे थे
जो हम कभी भूले नहीं है कि विंटर में हमको याद नहीं है, समर में भी शायद, लेकिन विंटर में सर हमेशा टाई और जैकेट पहन के आते थे।
हाँ
और हम ये करते हैं कि स्कूल का पढ़ाई था, तो मतलब कोई कॉर्पोरेट जॉब नहीं था, कोई ऐसा, बट ही बी वेरी डिसिप्लिन्ड। जरूर
I was very particular in my dress.
Yes.
Nishant,
very
even I
particular in
was.
my dress.
Yes, I totally agree.
Very
Superb.
particular.
Sir, thank you sir. Thanks आप आए। प्रणाम सर।
Pran.
बस
God bless you, all of
Thank
you.
you.
God bless you.
Thank you sir।
A part of my life is with you.
100% sir। Thank you sir।
Thank
So today we had some extremely great session. Thank you Sushant bhaiya।
Thank you Nishant।
Thank you Pramath bhaiya।
Thank you।
And thank you Nikesh bhaiya। Next time the webinar 5 is going to be on 28th of July, and we will have another set June. The another set of panelists would be Yashovardhan Azad. We will have Arvind Singh, and then we'll have Neeraj Akhori. So Neeraj Akhori is the MD of ACC and Ambuja. Arvind Singh is the chairman of Airport Authority of India, and Yashovardhan Azad the IPS. So
Why don't you call Vijay Kohli? Vijay Kohli.
yeah, stay connected and let's be in touch.
Nishant,
Thank you from
Nishant,
Yes,
Nishant.
sir.
Thank you.
One thank you to
Thanks,
you,
Sushant.
because I admitted openly that between 72 and 80, I did not visit St. Michael's. But your initiative has made me connect, with these guys, who are in 75, 76, 78, 80. And I'm so proud of you, Nishant. I'm so
Arey,
proud.
sir, come on, sir. That's
Well
fine,
done.
sir.
Well done.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Well done. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
These things
So-
take a lot of effort, so we understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So it's
Thank you,
Incredible
sir.
Michaelites. Stay tuned, stay connected. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.